12.
Sing it for me, you two.
It's not a
I don't
song.
remember singing.
Marriage. Marriage is what brings us together today. And love.
Love.
And with that, welcome back to Five's a Crowd. I'm your host today, Austin, and I'm surrounded by 4 idiot friends of mine. Cam, Chris, Tony, and Zack. And today we're going to be introducing not only ourselves, but our families and how we came to be.
What's the family?
How we met our significant others, as well as, well, created our offspring.
I don't think they
We won't give you-
how we created our own.
We
Also
won't give you
no.
the specifics,
The birds and the bees.
but
There were no
we'll
birds
tell you
or
our
bees
timelines.
involved.
This was a highly requested subject from our friends at our Discord. If you're not following us there, go hit up our Discord. It's down linked in the description. But to start us off, Cameron,
Hello.
because you're falling asleep in
I'm
the
the
helm,
last one. I'm not falling asleep. I'm just deprived of oxygen.
then breathe.
I'm trying.
Tell me about Shaylee.
Shaylee.
I don't think I even know how. Well, no,
You
maybe I
don't
do.
know?
We're
I'm the
about
last
to
one.
I was
find
gonna
out.
say.
I'm the last one to get married out
Maybe
of
I
the
do
group.
know.
But then
But-
I kind of jumped into the, I caught up.
Yeah, he
You
leapfrogged.
caught
I
up quick.
leapfrogged. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I had a kid first, but yet he leapfrogged me and then had an immediate
I have an older
7-year-old. Is she 7? 8?
She's 9 now.
9 now. So but that was 2 years ago, so I was right. So 7 at the time.
Exactly. So me and Shaylee met at work.
That's right.
Yep. And so I got transferred down to a store out in Murray, and that's where I met her. And at first we were just friends. Like I was dating someone else at the time when I moved down there, and she was dating some weirdo. But anyways, we just became friends like you do with coworkers, and we would talk about scary movies because she was really into scary movies. I liked scary movies, as you all know. And
Is there
you
one
don't
in-
anymore?
I still do.
Oh,
Is there
okay.
one in specific that comes to mind?
At that time, we were talking about Lights Out.
Ooh, that's a good one.
A way good one, right? And
That
it was
one?
coming out. We had watched it at VidCon.
Yeah, well, we tried.
Oh yeah, we did never
We
watch it.
bailed because it was like a 30-minute intro.
Their stupid ad for dumb crap. Oh, dude, I remember now. That was annoying.
It was super annoying.
Oh my
But,
gosh.
sorry to go off on a tangent, Jess, because of that show, we had to sleep with a nightlight on for 3 nights.
Dude, that show was so good.
Our bathroom
I need to
light.
rewatch it.
It's so good.
But yeah, we started talking about that, and we were like, yeah, let's get some friends together and we'll go see it or whatever. So we're like, all right. And it's funny because even though we were dating these other people, we were kind of on the way out with both of them. And we got this group together and everyone bailed. So it was just me and her. And so we went to this movie and we were just friends. Nothing came of it.
But did you have thoughts?
Not this time. That's what's
Ooh,
funny.
Okay.
So we legit just went to this movie, watched it as friends, and then hey, have a good night. That was it. And then a little bit down the road, we'd both broken it off with those other people, and we weren't looking for anything. We were kind of just meh, whatever. I'm kind of annoyed with love currently, as one does after breakups. And another scary movie was coming out, and this one was, what was this one? It was Don't Speak.
Don't breathe.
Don't Breathe, with the blind guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Fantastic.
Fantastic. Real gross in the middle, but fantastic.
Or towards the end, but yeah.
I mean, there was a hair in it.
Oh.
Hold up.
They had to throw that in there, didn't they?
Hold up.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, I'll have to watch this at some point.
Dude, it's
a
a
good
really good movie. It's scary because
It's
it's not
tense,
supernatural or anything. It's this could happen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's set in a place where this crap could happen. And so that movie comes around, and again we go into it and we're just we're just friends, whatever. Neither of us thought anything of it. We go to the movie, we watch it. At the end of it, we go outside and we end up sitting in the parking lot for 3 hours and just
making out?
talking. No, not yet. I am a gentleman.
You put on a little bit of, what's that? Wow, 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 wow.
I've been feeling fine, baby.
Oh, sorry, I don't know how that came on.
It's so weird. It's strange.
That's
The disc
weird.
is just in there. Don't worry about it.
Siri, shut up.
And so we just ended up talking and getting fairly deep and just kind of talking about our lives and stuff. And it just took us to this different like level of connection that we didn't expect, didn't have. We both like leave from that, and both of us kind of had the same thought, like, interesting. maybe this could be a thing. And that was just a little spark that started, and then we started like hanging out on like group outing kind of things from work, and then it turned into like going on actual dates, and then we started dating, and like it progressed quick, but not like super quick. We probably like we officially were dating after I want to say it's like a few months, but then it wasn't for like a year that I proposed to her. So like we were dating for a while, and this is what's funny. So she had, Kaylee. She was pre-made, as I like to say. And before that, like a few years before that, I remember thinking to myself, I was like, I will never date somebody that has a child. Like it was just not in the cards for me at that time. I was like 25, I think. I was like, nah, I'm never gonna date someone with a child. That's just too difficult. It's too crazy. But there was just something completely different about this. Like, I remember you having the conversation with me. We were leaving the Blink-182 concert.
Yeah, I remember.
And you were asking me about it, and we were talking about it, and you had said something to that effect. You're like, no, you're going to want to think about this. Like, you're dating this girl, but there's a whole other person that you need to, like, be in love with in a way and stuff. And I remember thinking about it and just not, like, being worried. Like, not at all.
That's fantastic.
I was like, nah, this will be good. Like, adorable little girl, super funny, just crazy little child. And, like, this is what's funny, dude, is she kind of looks like me, like, a little bit. She acts a lot like me, especially now. but
Don't know
like,
if that's a good thing or not.
I know, right? The thing is the things I get mad about that she does are things that she does like me.
Give us an example.
Like, I mean, just she'll come back with witty comebacks at me that I would use on her, and it makes me mad that she thought about it, and it works so well because I taught her well. And so, you know what I mean? Like, as a parent, you two have older kids. Like, you get mad because they're too smart, and you're like, I'm mad that you got me. But now I gotta find a way to make you feel like you didn't get me.
You're right.
You turn into a child.
Go to your room.
It's a lose-lose. I mean, if you beat a child in an argument, you beat a child in an argument. Nobody cares. You're a loser. But then if you lose, everyone's like, hey, you got beat by a child in an argument. You can't win, people. But no, it all came together so naturally. And like from day one, like the day we got married, Kaylee walked up and she's like, can I call you daddy now? And I was like, heck yeah, you can. And so from that day, I'm dad, I'm daddy. Like, she is my child.
That's so awesome.
I don't use the word step in there anywhere. I personally don't like it. If, someone's in a family like that and you like it, cool. I feel like it separates you from the child, and I don't want that. So I don't refer to her as a stepchild. And like, I'll tell people, yeah, I have a 9-year-old and a 15-month-old. And they'll just sit there and I'll just watch the gears turn and just like see what they're gonna say next. I'm like, okay, let's see. And they're like, but I'm like, she was pre-made, don't worry about it.
That's awesome. Being in your shoes, like if I were to be in your shoes, I can't say I would be as comfortable as you were into that situation. I think becoming that father figure for a child, that would wreck my anxiety.
It's wild.
Well, I think especially in your case where her biological father wasn't the greatest guy. Mm-mm. And so you not only had to just step in as the father figure, but as actually father. Like you had, yeah. No, I mean, like one of the hardest parts in the beginning was because of that. Like she didn't have that like fatherly discipline, So there were a lot of things like right when we first got married that she would do, and immediately I was just like, this ain't gonna be a thing that we do from this moment onward.
Yeah, how was that like disciplining?
It was interesting because like the first month was probably the hardest, but that's because everything had changed for her. Like, she was now living in a different house, smaller than the one she was in before. She was now just with her mom and me, so it was just us three in a new house, new experiences, and
Who were they living with before?
So before they were living with Shaylee's mom and brother and sister.
Oh, okay.
So Kaylee was basically raised by all of them.
Gotcha.
And so, you have this cute little child who's being raised by grandma and mom and uncle and aunt. And so if Shaylee's not home, Kaylee's mostly going to get whatever she wants. I mean, it makes sense for any kid. Like, you're around grandma and grandpa, they're just like, sure, whatever, here, take this, And so she just didn't have very many boundaries. And because of the way their house was set up, Kaylee and Shaylee were sleeping in the same room. Their beds were next to each other. And so Kaylee would end up in Shaylee's bed. Mm. So that was the first habit to break. Because I was like, nah. I was like, that ain't gonna fly here. I'll barely let the dog sleep in our bed. Now I sleep with the dog and the baby.
I've waited 20-something years. You're not sleeping in this bed.
Be in between us.
Right.
But I mean, just little things like that. But honestly, like I said, it was only about a month and then everything got fine. Like it snapped together so quickly. And it just goes to show, like, I do feel that the time that I had to develop as a person and get married, because I mean, I got married at 30. And so in Utah, that's somewhat unheard of. But looking back through my 20s, I was never ready at any point.
Yeah. Well, and Jess and I went back to her hometown for her 10-year reunion. And out of everyone that was there, and by the way, their reunions in Ohio are massive.
Like high school reunions?
Oh, yeah. Way bigger than...
Do they just have, like, fewer schools?
No.
Or more people per
They just
capita?
appreciate
I think it's
it.
just more so appreciated.
They're more
Oh,
celebrating.
people actually go.
Yeah, because she wasn't from, like, a giant city in Ohio, but so many more people showed up for this than our 10-year. Maybe it's just a Clearfield thing. I don't know.
I didn't
But-
go to any of my
Don't say the name.
reunions.
Don't say the name.
Sorry. But anyway, we get there, and out of, like, all the 100+ people that were there, Jess and I and one other couple were the only ones married, let alone we had a kid. So
Yeah.
we were the outlier of the outlier.
Weird.
Yeah, we were the exception of everyone there.
Yeah. See,
So
and
it is unheard of outside of Utah.
That's
but
what's
in
so
Utah-
crazy. And you know what actually taught me that was How I Met Your Mother.
Oh, yeah.
And like watching that, and I'm like, these guys are all dating. They're all like in their 30s, and they're dating like we were when we were in like our early 20s. Mm-hmm. And so when it finally happened, I came to grips with it, and I was like, I needed to be prepared for this because this was something bigger than me. Like, I wasn't just going to be finding a wife and settling down. I was getting a wife and a child, and then making our family together.
That's awesome.
So it was crazy to me how like it all just came together. It just everything clicked. Me and Shaylee clicked. She always makes fun because she was always waiting for me. She was waiting for me to be the one to decide let's go out. She was waiting for me to propose. Like she was
So she
always
was being the
ready.
girl in the relationship.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
She was always ready before I was, and just waiting for me to figure it out.
Now, could you imagine if Kaylee's father was someone amazing like Ryan Reynolds?
Bro, I'd marry him.
Got it. How do I compete with this guy? In a way, you're very lucky in that
No.
you didn't have much to compete with.
So your father's moving in with us, right? Like,
See, and that's the other thing too. Like, if you were a dude that actually made an effort and could better her life, I would not be opposed to him like being around more. But he's not, and that's his own choice. And it is better for me because I don't have competition.
right.
So it's nice. Like she's my little girl. I freaking love her.
Situation worked.
That's awesome.
Yes, it like
How
I get
it
it all
should've.
exactly. It
The
all
epitome of timing is everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's funny. She's such a little turd. I love her so much. Oh man.
Now to pivot things, Chris has been the longest married here, right?
Oh yeah.
Have I?
Both actually and before actually. You guys were married before you got married.
Yeah. I knew what I wanted.
Oh yeah.
We got
Right? Because you
married
guys have been married 12 years.
Yeah, well, I was going to say Zach might be close.
September 30th,
Wait.
2006 is when I got married.
Okay, so you're.
Don't forget.
I was gonna say we're coming up on our 13th.
13. So is that yours too?
You just had your
14?
14th.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Doing math.
Man.
Shoot, how many
14
years? That's crazy. So
It doesn't feel like it. It's just. I mean, every relationship has its work, but it's been awesome.
So start at the beginning. How'd you guys?
yeah, started at the beginning because I mean we kind of did a crash course on our introduction by roast here.
But that was more so when you met us. You had met Lisa before that.
Yeah. So Lisa, we actually went to junior high and high school together, and it's weird how things work out. My cousin in junior high had a crush on her. And so I went to talk to her for him, like little kids do, saying, hey, my cousin likes you. Well, she ended up liking me instead of my cousin. But there's the rule, the unspoken rule that if
The bro code.
the
That
bro code,
code.
that if he liked her, I couldn't pursue her, right? So I didn't. I was like, no, my cousin
It
likes
was
you.
honor.
My cousin likes you, so I can't date you. Well, fast forward to high school, we talked. I mean, we didn't talk very much in high school at all. And it's weird because I think about this and I'm like, it all worked out the way it did for a reason, you know what I mean? But we were friendly and cordial in high school, but I wasn't on the radar, she wasn't on the radar. Well, after we graduated, I get this random text saying, hey, you should come over, we're doing a birthday party for my friend.
Hey, Tyler's just left the state. Come on over.
No, this was before he left.
Oh,
yeah.
this is before you.
This was Orlean's birthday.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So,
okay.
so I'm like, who is this? Because I didn't know who the number was. Well, I had a friend who was taking my phone and texting her saying it was his phone. And I'm like, who is this? She's like, Lisa. I go, Lisa who? And she said, Lisa Evans, or,
I forgot her last name until just now.
So,
Right? She's been a Hubble
I was
longer
like,
than
Lisa
she's been
Hummel?
a
I was like,
Devon.
wait, no, that wasn't.
well, and so I'm like, whoa, how'd you get my number? She's like, isn't this so-and-so? And I was like, no, this isn't.
Dirty thief.
I was like, this is Chris. She's like, Chris who? And I told her, Chris Hummel.
Chummel 86.
Chummel 86 on a fly. But and I guess from what she was saying to her friends is that she always thought I was cute or whatever, and so she just got all giddy and she's like, you should come anyway because
Because you're cute.
I guess she used me. No, but
And abused you.
yeah. So anyway, we go to this party and we're sitting there and I'm just talking with everybody and getting to know everybody. She comes running over and sits on my lap, unbeknownst to me that the boyfriend at the time is at the party, but they were taking a separation because he was getting ready to leave and go serve a mission.
He was there?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, he was there. I
don't
guess.
remember being
But
there.
I guess he was like, I need to date other people, but he'd get mad that she was dating other people. Anyways.
Typical.
Long story. But, so anyway, it all was from there, and then come to find out that she was moving out, and I said, well, if you need help moving out, I'll be there to help you move out. And so I went and
feel
helped
like
move
I
out.
was at that party.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
It was in the house
In the basement.
down by like the veterinary clinic, kind of on 1,000.
Yeah.
No, on 2,000 by Clinton Walmart. a little
His
bit.
house, right?
No, that was where
Oh,
Lisa.
yeah.
That was where
He
Lisa.
was there. I was like, who's the idiot with the long hair?
No, well, this
No,
was
I'm
at
just
this was at Lisa and Shailene's
No.
like rental. They were renting the
I don't
basement
know if you
of
were
this
there.
house.
Okay, no, I wasn't.
I don't remember.
Maybe it's just because I've heard the story so long ago that I feel like it's a part of my
Right,
memory.
dude.
Like, okay, I feel like I was there. No.
No, but I don't remember who all was there because I was focused
Dude, they
on
were a bunch of
talking to her.
weirdos. Like honestly, they were all weirdos.
Dude, I
except
was
for you.
I was a weirdo. I had my gauges in, my Backstreet Boy thing going on,
You did have spiky hair.
spiky hair upside down, reversed
Visor.
visor. No, I didn't, not that extent, but
I
was,
did.
not.
I
I
just
did
frosted
remembered
tips.
that. Oh my gosh.
Did you frost your tips?
No, my hair was too black. It wouldn't frost.
He tried.
For lack of
He
trying.
His mudded.
Oh my god, I totally remember remember that.
I did that earlier on, though. I did have that.
You had that tribal necklace too.
Yeah, I wore that
Oh
everywhere.
my gosh.
This is my story.
Sorry. Sorry, I just had a big old brain.
I'm just kidding. But so anyway, I helped him move, and that's where I met you, and you and me talked for a while.
Oh yeah,
And I felt like we just kind of connected instantly.
we did.
And
Like we had a bro click for sure.
yeah. And then we just started dating from there, and
Him and Lisa, not me.
Are you sure?
you were kind of a package deal, though. It was the same
It's true, dude.
situation.
It's so true.
I was dating my wife, and she had a man-child.
No, for real.
Yeah, for real.
No, but then we just started hanging out, and then but we didn't date very long before I proposed to her, because she was still dating Tyler at the
He
time.
was gone though, wasn't he?
Okay, I told her, I was like, I'm gonna marry you, and she's like, well, I don't know, because she was still on the fence, because she was still with Tyler or whatnot. Tyler leaves, and I'm like,
I just love that conversation. I'm gonna marry you. I don't know. I'm
No,
still
I know.
gonna date this other guy.
well, it wasn't even that. Like, it was just she'd introduce me. Hey, this is my friend Tyler. And when she talked to Tyler, hey, this is my friend Chris. I was like, we're gonna fight.
Them's fighting words.
Oh
But
my
he
gosh.
knew that we were dating, and so we just started hanging out. And I think I proposed to her in April.
I thought you were gonna say that week.
I proposed to her.
Oh my god.
No, I proposed to her in April, and we didn't start dating until the beginning of January, so it was like 3 months, and it might have been earlier than that. I'm not sure on the specifics, but I just I'm gonna marry this girl, and I kept telling everybody, I was like, I'm gonna marry her.
How'd you know?
I just knew. I don't know. It was just, you can't describe it. It's just,
Was it
I don't know, man.
It's like
because you
it
knew
just
her for a
makes
long
sense.
time. It just
I
made
did.
sense.
But we didn't really talk much or anything before. The way she'd talk and the way we just got along, and I just knew that I wanted to marry her, and so I did.
It just works. It's one of those.
Hey,
This is
I
the
did.
craziest thing.
I don't know.
always-
I can't explain it.
Yeah,
I
I always noticed with Shaylee, at least, what set her apart from the other girls I dated was all the other girls I dated were a lot of work.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was so, like, I had to be constantly doing something to keep it going.
Yeah.
But it just exhausting. But, like, with Shaylee and stuff, and I'm sure with Lisa, it just
Sorry, honey.
made sense.
Sorry, honey. But she was a lot of damn work, too.
I mean,
Is
lot of dang work.
is she still a lot of work?
you can't
Well,
take
of
the
course,
woman out
but-
of the life. I mean,
No. But any relationship is a lot of work, and that's what I think today, now when there's all this divorce and everything, it's just people don't understand that relationships are a lot of work. They
Well,
really are.
I think people treat marriage as like a high school relationship. That's why they all get divorced, because they go into it thinking like, well, I can just get out of this.
Oh, well, we disagree on this, so we're not supposed to
Yeah,
be together. But
exactly.
It's how you. But we were always able to come to an agreement on something, whether it was me, kicking her in the butt and saying, no, we need to talk about this, or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
But she was, it was just, I just knew that she was a wonderful person. I just knew that I would really screw up if I let this girl out of my life. And so it was a lot of work, but it really wasn't at the same time. I just knew.
Oh, tender.
But really, she's, I don't know. I don't know where I'd be right now. Because I wouldn't know any of you guys.
Yep.
I wouldn't have my beautiful son, who, I mean, it took us a long time to have him too.
Mm-hmm.
A long time. And we tried, But, I don't
My
know.
first one was so easy. I was in there.
Yeah.
I kind of wish you were. You were there. You're like, you're doing it wrong.
Wrong way, sir.
But yeah, so how I proposed to her too was so stupid. It really was. And we kind of turned it into this beautiful moment because it ended up being, of course, it's your proposal, it's a beautiful moment. I think we're at my cousin's homecoming, and we decided to go outside, and we're sitting by the road, and I'm like, marry me.
And she's like, excuse you.
She's
must
like,
be the dinner.
she's like, what? I was like, I go, and we're just standing there against my car, and I'm like, Lisa, will you marry me? And she's like, I was expecting something different, but she just looks at me, she's like, for real?
That's the first sign that you did it wrong.
I'm like, yes, will you marry me? She's like, for real, for real? Because I kept telling her I was going to marry her before. Like, I was like, I'm going to marry you. And she was just like, yeah.
Did you have the ring out? Like, was it?
I didn't even have a ring.
question?
No, I had no ring.
Well, that's the
It's a piece
confusing.
of string wrapped around a finger.
I was
That's
very
romantic.
unprepared for it. But here's the thing that's crazy about me marrying her, or me proposing to her, is it was like a non, I don't know how to describe it, but
It was like a violent shove.
no, it's like the beauty of the moment enveloped us. It was a nonchalant moment that the beauty of it kind of enveloped us as we went, because then we just started noticing, like the trees were still in bloom, and we just all of a sudden noticed all the tree petals like started falling down, and I don't know, it turned into a beautiful moment that should have been crap, to be honest. You know what I mean? Because it was just, it turned, because it is a beautiful thing, but I just was like, what movie?
It's all right.
No.
I know you hear all these like elaborate proposals and stuff, and so
it was very raw.
Mine was
real moment that we had.
decently elaborate.
Yeah, I want to. Like, you didn't elaborate on your proposal at all. If you want to share on that.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
actually, let's finish your story
go.
because we need to hear about Alden and.
So
Your wedding was fun.
So we got married. We got married. What's that song? I don't know, but we ended up having, we got married at the park. I was trying to find groomsmen. This is. So you were.
He was there.
Yeah. No, he wasn't a groomsman.
He was
This
there
is-
though.
I was there.
You were
I was
there.
I was
He was the life of the party.
We were the life of the
Yeah.
party.
Yeah,
we were
we danced.
screaming and dancing the whole
Yeah.
time.
But it was a good time. We ended up getting married, and then we started struggling with having a child. So when we first got married, Lisa ended up getting pregnant. And it was one of those moments where she's like, honey, I'm pregnant. I'm like,
How far into this were you?
oh, it was like December. We got married in September, and it was like December that we found out she
That
got
was
pregnant.
2006, right?
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, this was like
Right
right
after
So I
we
just-
right after we got married,
I just
Holy
left on my mission.
crap.
she had gotten pregnant. And I knew I always wanted to be a dad. I always, loved the idea, but that scared the crap out of me at first. I was like, oh,
Well, you were kids.
yeah, we were still,
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, you know what? So at first it scares you. You start going to the doctor visits. You start warming up to it. And you're like, I'm going to be a freaking dad. Like, this is going to be awesome. I always wanted to do it. And I feel like I have my immature moments, but I can always step up to adulthood if I need to. You know what I mean?
I don't know if
Oh,
you've
yeah, it's
ever
like-
been immature.
Right? No, it's like
Oh.
it's like when you need to go to the
I've
doctor's
never been around
office.
you when you've been immature.
Oh.
Have you met Chris?
Yeah.
I say the most outlandish crap. But so we end up going to the doctors, and then you hear the heartbeat, and you hear all this, and your emotions just fill up. And I remember we go to the doctor one day, and he's trying to do the heartbeat again, and then he's like, hold on just a second, and he just books it out of the room, right? Anyways, he comes back in. He's like, "Okay, we need to go to this other place," and you get excited, and he's all. He goes, "You lost the child, and it kills you.
Mhm.
Oh, it just kills you." But, anyways, we got through it, and then we started just doing our thing again, and then we're like, "Okay, we're ready." And this was probably 2 years after, and. We tried having a child again, and it never worked. And then Alden was born, so he's 4. He turns 5 in December. So whatever year, you guys do the math. I'm on Common Core.
2015?
So
Do you need your grid?
Yeah.
You need your blocks?
but so I'm asleep or getting ready. I don't remember exact moment, but Lisa comes up. She's like, I'm pregnant. And I just remember all those emotions from before hit me. But then the excitement just overtook it, and I just knew, okay, this is it. Like this is the time when we're supposed to have our child.
Do you feel like the first time around you weren't ready, and that was kind of like? Is that how did that help you in coping at all, or
no? It's just no, dude. Here's the thing with it: it's such a roller coaster of emotions. Because at first you're scared, and then you're like excited, and then it's just all taken from you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So on the second time around, at first I was scared about it. I'm like, oh, we can't tell anybody because we don't know if this is going to be the same situation. And for some reason, I was like, nah, this is it.
You just knew.
Yeah. We knew, and we just got excited. And then we got our son Alden, and he's a stud.
He's awesome, dude.
Such a funny kid.
I love that kid.
He's a good kid.
He's so grown up for his
I know,
age.
you just
I
said he
keep
was
forgetting.
4, and I was like, are you sure he's not like 7?
Yeah, right.
He comes over and he treats Micah like an absolute gentleman. It's fantastic. I love it.
That's not because of me.
You put on a big front, but you've always been a stand-up dude.
You've always been very chivalrous. And I think that's why me and you clicked so easy in the beginning. Because at that time especially, I was always about the bro code. Like, I honestly would treated all my friends with honor, and if they, like, ruined that, we weren't friends anymore. Like,
I am that way. Like, I have a moral... This is my moral
strong moral compass.
I do. I go around the gray with some of the things I say, but it's just reactionary. You know what I mean? I still have my value and my moral that I stick to. You know? And I think that's probably why Lisa was like, all right, I guess.
Strong moral compass.
But, yeah, my son's a stud. It was worth all the heck and the heartache. It was...
Well, I don't love that you had to go through that, but I love that we're having this conversation now because that's something I had no clue about.
I kept that really close to me.
Like, I had no clue, and I'm very sorry you had to go through that.
It's pretty common, but it killed me for a while.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
So
we've been
like, I remember like every appointment, and I'm sure all of you felt the same way. Every appointment, I was like slightly scared.
Oh yeah.
Every time you're like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what could go wrong, but I'm afraid it could. You know.
Yeah.
No matter how far along we were, like even up to the birth.
Well, there was a while there with Micah that she was even flipped and was breached for a very long time. We had to do this. I can't even remember what it's called.
They have to, like,
it's like a CS something where they have to like forcefully flip your child, and there's all these warnings about it, and that like it could cause issues with birth and like your health and like baby's health and all this stuff, and they might need to be having an emergency C-section. You're just like, what?
Yeah, they did that with Alden too, so that scared me too. But he was far enough. They assured us he's far enough when they're going to try to do this to where if they have to do an emergency C-section, he'd be all right. Because I was like,
but still, it's that fraction of a chance. You're like, I don't even want there to be a chance.
Dude, the women deal with a lot of pain in childbirth, but my gosh, it is an emotional like ride for the men because you can't do anything.
Yeah, you can't.
It's out of your hands.
If anything goes wrong, you just sit there and you're like, I have no control over the situation.
I did this to you. I'm sorry.
But it's the same thing. Like as a man, and this may be old school, and I don't care. But as a man in the relationship, I want to be a fixer.
Yeah.
I want to fix the problems.
Exactly.
I want to make sure everything's going.
You want to be a protector.
You can't. Yes. Yeah.
It's out of your hands at that point.
The thing that's crazy
100%.
is, like, at least for me with our first, I was so naive about the whole thing that I didn't realize there could be issues.
So many, like so many of them,
right?
too.
And then, and then all of a sudden you find out the different issues that you can have and how actually really, really common it is. It's literally like a 50-50 shot of getting pregnant.
Especially on the first pregnancy.
Yeah. And so it's crazy. You just look back and it's like, whew.
Well, and I think the beauty behind social media these days is people are becoming more and more transparent with their pregnancies and stillbirths and, miscarriages are so much more
common than you ever realized.
Yeah, and it's just, more...
When Scarlett was born, there was this one extremely tense moment, and you feel it in the room.
Yeah.
Like, when the doctor
all of a sudden is not as bubbly and funny and they're stern, you're like, something's happening. Like her shoulder got caught, and the doctor, you could just tell and feel it because the nurse looked at the doctor and she's like, "Do I need to prep?" And I'm like, "What the fuck? Prep for what?" What is this?
Yeah.
And the doctor's like, "Maybe," and I'm like I started to freak out. They had to put the freaking suction cup thing on her head, and the doctor straight up put her foot on the table and is like yanking my child out of my wife. And luckily she moved her shoulder and was able to pull her out, because it could have either killed her or caused severe damage to like her arm and stuff. And oh my gosh, dude, I remember that moment, probably the highest stress I've ever felt. Ever.
Oh, yeah.
Seeing with the first child, or at least it was in her second trimester too, so that they give you the assurance, the first trimester is when you really have issues, if it's going to be a miscarriage or whatever. And so but when you see that child,
Oh yeah.
Hot day.
Isn't it amazing how, so again, like a woman carries that baby for 9 months, and so they're already growing that
Got
attachment.
that bond.
Yeah, that bond.
Literally.
Right. Whereas the man, you don't have that connection until you see it, but it's amazing how the moment you lay eyes on it, you're instantly in love.
Yeah.
Like you just, it was, oh my gosh.
I am that child's protector. Like,
Yeah.
that child.
Like, I mean, I never like talked to her a lot when she was in the belly. I don't know, like, because I'm that way. Like, I'm like, once I know it's in there, but like until it pops out, I'm like, oh my gosh, we did this? We just had a baby? You know what I mean? Like, it's all of a sudden like that 9
Before
months
that,
of like,
it's an alien.
exactly, like supposedly there's something in there.
Xenomorph is right. Wait, in any moment.
You're just sneaking in for seconds. I don't know.
This might be weird, but I would like cuddle with my wife's belly. Like I would lay my head on there and just I don't know.
I did too, man.
I would always
That's
talk.
awesome.
I
I would always
put
play music.
I'd put my mouth right up to the belly. Baby, this is your duty.
Where's the baby? Do it.
Baby comes out terrified.
But so, and everybody always mentions the bond you have with the child when they're born, but the bond that you develop with your significant other during the pregnancy too is a magical thing.
It's also a big roller coaster.
It is, of course.
Because you,
Oh, yeah.
as the husband, you're like, I know you're dealing with a lot of pain and hormones, but I'm the recipient
Yeah.
of all that pain and
I have
hormone.
feelings too.
But that, I mean, it helps you bond. It helps you.
It does.
It's
yeah.
like a sink or
and that's
swim.
the hard thing too is like no matter how much, like no matter knowing that their body's hormones are going crazy and it's causing this, you still feel it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you know there's an explanation, but I'm like, that was still
Well, and
hurtful.
there's also the thing where you get like empathy pains and like you get those sympathy symptoms where it's all of a sudden you have this weird craving for food.
I was always hungry. It hasn't stopped.
I'm still
Blaming-
looking to lose that baby.
Blaming you, Scarlett. I'm
Yeah,
blaming you.
baby.
Cam's
Still.
perma-prego.
Yeah. Wild.
I'm always hungry. Just kidding.
It's so true though.
Just kidding.
So sorry to jump off a little bit. I want to hear about your proposal. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yes. So this was fun. I liked it a lot. So basically, what I did is I set up a whole freaking scavenger hunt for Shaylee, and I legit like I got this like piece of like parchment paper almost like this really cool paper. I drew a map on it, burned the edges. Like I put like the water and everything, and like where I was leading her to her final destination. Not that one.
Did they have trucks with lumber?
Trucks with lumber, all kinds of stuff, panes of glass, all the things.
That sounds horrible.
But I cut it into 6 pieces, and I got a bunch of like bottles, and I legit like rolled these things up, sealed them with a wax seal, put them in the bottles, and I left a bag of chocolate coins with them at every location for Kaylee. So I had Shaylee and Kaylee do the scavenger hunt together. But like basically I took her to the movie theater where we like the spark started. I took her where we had our first date. I took her to where we had our first kiss. I took her to like our first group date, and then
Gosh, I'm
I don't know what the
tired.
last one is. Dude, it was.
It's
It
like
was
I'm thinking
was
like,
legit.
man, Shaylee had to jump all over the place.
that's
to
the
get
funny thing.
I gotta say, just something that elaborate. Obviously, she knows it's coming. Do you think that?
Bro, she had no idea.
What?
She's
She had no idea.
sugarcoating you.
And this is why. Is because she hadn't eaten that day, so she was starving, and just thought I was leading her
This
to
better
like
be leading to a
really nice
restaurant.
picnic, because it was also on. It was around our 1 year anniversary, so it was a really nice picnic, and so I basically led her to her favorite place, which is Pineview. She's has memories of growing up and going to Pineview with her grandma and grandpa, and like it's a very special place to her. So I lead her out there, and I set up in the sand under this giant oak tree. I think it was an oak tree. And this is like October, so it's fall. So this thing is covered in giant yellow leaves, and the wind is lightly blowing, and we're right next to the water, and so it's like raining giant yellow leaves on us. But I put roses from the parking lot all the way through the sand up to where I was. I had a blanket covering all these pumpkins that were painted with "Will you marry me?" So I set up all these pumpkins and had a blanket on the ground. And we're sitting there, she comes out, and I'm like, hey, her and Kaylee. And I think that's the other reason, is because I had Kaylee with her, so she wasn't really expecting it in that moment too. Well, she shows up, we're talking and stuff, and Kaylee like looks at the blanket, she's like, what's that? And I was like, oh, that's our lunch, go ahead and pull it off. She walks over and pulls it off, and while she does, Shaylee's looking, and I kneel down behind her, so she sees the pumpkin say, will you marry me? Turns around, and I'm on the ground with the big old shiny rock. And it was just like...
Why'd you have a rock?
I mean, that's what they do, apparently.
Penguins?
I just, if I get out of line, she hits me with it. I don't know.
A pebble.
A pebble. A real expensive shiny rock. Like, ridiculous. But yeah, so in that moment, she turns around, and I asked Kaylee if it was okay if I marry her mom, and then I asked Shaylee.
Oh.
Oh, it was dope. And then my friends were there taking pictures, and the drone like comes in.
Way to make me feel like half a man.
No, you did great.
What would you have done if Kaylee would have said no?
I'd punt her into the water.
I'm allergic to pumpkins.
Oh, but it was good. It was really good. And then she was like, but there's food, right? And I was like, no. She's like,
Eat the pumpkin.
I'm really hungry. So we went and got food after.
That's awesome.
All right, Austin, you're up.
Me?
Yep.
Well, I was gonna go last because I'm hosting.
Oh, then hit it, Tony.
Hit it up, Tony.
You're up.
Oh, man. Well, I met this girl one time.
What was her name? Oh, what, do you
Tina.
know her?
No, so, I gotta kind of... So, at the time, the two friends I was hanging out with most of the time back then both had girlfriends. So I was the Will, and I kind of was going through like this really loner phase. Didn't like to leave the house. Kind of just stayed home, watched movies, didn't really do much. And then Austin texted me one day out of the blue. And he was like, hey, do you want to go to dinner with me and a friend? And I was...
Oh, yeah.
I was just assuming it was him and whatever person he was dating at the time. And I was just like, you know what? I need to get out of the house. I'll be the Will for a night, sure. And so I met him at the Boston's, actually, where I was talking earlier.
Boston.
Yeah.
You know what? It's not Boston's anymore.
It's not?
No, some stupid other
Are you
restaurant.
Are you sure?
1,000%.
Oh,
I swear.
that's heartbreaking.
Anyway, go on.
Anyway, so yeah, meet him at Boston's, and we all kind of pull into the parking lot together. And as I get out, I just remember seeing Austin, of course, and then seeing this really tall blonde with him, and I just immediately was like, dang.
Walk this way.
And first thing that drew me in was her eyes. Now, granted, Jenny's got some big eyes, but like classy big, not like creepy big.
Not like spotlights.
Yeah,
Not like anime big, but like real big.
right.
Yeah.
And I was immediately just attracted. I was like, man. So anyway, we introduced ourselves and stuff, walking to the restaurant, and we're sitting there. It was just the three of us, and we sat, and I remember. So we all ordered, and I remember Jenny ordered a pizza, and she ate the whole thing on her own. And she's like a twig, and the fact that she could put away a whole pizza, I'm like, yeah,
Done.
And we're just laughing, having a good time, and no joke, like already in that moment, I felt just, I don't know, just a connection, I guess you could say. And Austin ends up, it was time to pay for our checks and stuff, and Austin needed some change, so he was like, I'm going to run out to my car real quick to get change for my check. So while he was gone, it was just Jenny and I, and I asked her, I was like, so are you and Austin dating? And she's like, oh no, we're just friends, stuff. And I was like, well, would you want to go out with me one day? And the fact that I had the guts to ask her out was a feat in itself, because I don't ask hot girls out. I just don't.
I get that.
Jenny and I were really good friends through high school.
Well,
Which is amazing that you never met her.
That's what blew my mind too. Is apparently
Because we used to slough class all the time and then like just go chill in the Blazer and just like just talk.
Jenny was a sophomore when we were seniors.
Yeah.
She hung out with Austin all the time, and yet I didn't even know she existed until this day.
And you still don't.
Always meant to.
Yeah.
There's
So-
always a reason.
Well, so she said yes, that she would go out with me. And so, I don't know, it was about a week later, we set up a date, and I'm texting her, and she's like, I'm up at my aunt's house cleaning. I'm almost done. I promise we're still on. I'm like, oh, this is it. You know, I'm used to being blown off.
Don't you hate that?
Yeah. Oh, so
I
bad.
totally forgot about being blown off.
The stupidest thing in the world.
Right?
Dumb.
Have some balls, ladies. Jeez.
So I'm already prepping for that. Well, then, lo and behold, she actually comes through, and she's like, okay, I'm home and stuff, and she's like, give me just 5 minutes to get ready, and she's like, in fact, if you want to start heading over, I'll be ready by the time you get here. So I go and I pick her up, and we were just going to go out to dinner, and I said, where do you want to go eat? Sky's the limit. Whatever sounds good to you. And she's like, well, as funny as it sounds, she's like, some McDonald's chicken nuggets sound amazing right now. I'm like, man, you're a cheap date. Not really, I didn't say that.
But you were thinking it.
I was thinking it.
Heck yeah.
Winning.
Heck yeah.
So we go to McDonald's, get our food and everything. We sit down, and we were in this McDonald's lobby for, gosh, I want to say at least 2 hours, just talking and stuff. And as weird as it is, first date, and I am opening up about deep, dark secrets and stuff that there's no way anybody would ever want to say this kind of stuff on a first date.
Jenny's over there like, red flag, red flag, red flag.
No, so that's just it, though. The fact that she just listened, no judgment, no nothing. She just listened. She opened up back to me, telling me about different things. I walked away that night, same thing, Chris. It was crazy listening to your story, because it was same thing. I walked out, and I'm like, I'm going to marry her. And I just knew it. It was love at that first date. But here's the catch, is she had a boyfriend at the time. And Austin even warned me about it.
That's
too.
right.
Oh, by the way, she's taken.
Right? But
I got two girl stealers as friends.
But her boyfriend lived in
Fair game.
California.
I forgot about
fool.
that.
So he
guy.
came out to visit like a friend or family. She met him, and they started dating. Well, then he moved back out to California. Well, she had tickets to go fly out to stay with him as her senior trip. This was right out of high school. And so it was terrible, because at this point we had hung out pretty much every day. We didn't hug, we didn't kiss, we didn't do anything, because technically she had a boyfriend, so we didn't want to make her unfaithful.
Technicalities.
And so, but it was almost perfect though, because it brought us closer as friends almost first. And I remember right before she left, we took a trip to Lava Hot Springs, and I did actually end up kissing her there. But the funny thing is, so we were sitting by the hot pots at Lava Hot Springs, and I remember leaning in for the kiss. She kissed me back, but then like half a second and she pulled away. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this was terrible. I shouldn't have made a move. Well, later she tells me that she panicked because she couldn't believe she was actually kissing me. And so she panicked and pulled away. And I was like, okay. I don't know if she's feeding me crap.
Attaboy.
So on the way home from Lava Hot Springs, I ended up telling her that I loved her.
I remember this.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, Austin was
You were
driving.
in back seat.
Yes. Austin was driving.
Who was I dating at the time? That's gonna be a brain blast.
But
Because I
anyway.
remember she was sitting shotgun, and I was like, whatever.
It was really awkward for sure.
Yeah.
We're
Who's
cuddling.
driving?
Austin
I
was
was.
driving.
No one was driving. We just put a rock
I
on
was
the gas
confused.
pedal.
Charles, go faster.
Charles.
Austin
Bring
was
the car
driving.
around.
Whoever he was dating was in the passenger seat, and there was just an awkwardness there. And then Jenny and I are cuddling in the back, telling each other we love each other.
I love you. No, I love you more. No, I love you more.
That was actually very accurate.
Spot on. So anyway, that night happens, and then she ends up leaving to California for 2 weeks to literally stay with her
Another man.
another man.
Yes, I remember all this.
And she was still texting me throughout the whole thing. We would kind of talk and stuff because the guy she was staying with still had to work. So while he was at work, she was calling me, and she was telling me things that I didn't want to hear. And the fact that she was telling me that made me know she was being honest and stuff. She even told me that he proposed, but he slid the ring. He slid the ring across the kitchen counter and said, "Think about it."
What?
That was his proposal.
Wow,
That
what
was
a
it.
what
Yeah.
a DB move,
Chris, you
man.
did great.
Right?
Yeah,
You did
Chris,
great.
you did awesome,
See,
man.
I'm just having
At least
reason
I'm
to make it great.
sincere.
So,
Think about it.
What a tool move.
Like a Joey. That's
Slide
like,
through.
hey, how you doing?
Can you imagine if you just slid it off the table?
That's like a tool you don't use that just sits in the back of the tool bag.
Hits the
tool.
ground and you hear that's plastic.
well, so the whole time she's gone, I am absolutely miserable. Miserable.
I remember this. I was like your personal shrink.
Yeah. Oh, it
I
was terrible.
totally remember all this.
Well, I kept thinking too, I'm like, I should just break up with her. I should just get this over with and just break up with her. And I was like, no, because she told me before we even got close, she said she was going down there to break up with him. She's like, this is my senior trip. I'm taking it to have my senior trip. Yes, it's with him, but I'm going to break up with him and everything. And so I was like, in 2 weeks, she's going to be back here single. I'm single. I'm like, I just got to tough it out. And through that 2 weeks, I would sleep on my bedroom floor, not in my bed, because at night, I couldn't help but think that she's there with him. And so I'd sleep on my bedroom floor, and every time my brain would start to run away with me, I would immediately stop and go, I'm sleeping on my floor. And it would my brain would just be like, oh yeah, you're sleeping on your floor. And
You and Brain have some deep conversations.
wow. And that's when my other personality was created. But
I'm not crazy.
Here's a third voice. Yeah, we are sleeping on the floor. Wait, what?
well, who invited you? The weird thing though is that it worked. Like it worked.
A coping mechanism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
How were those padded walls, by the way?
so
Can't itch my
anyway,
nose.
flash forward. She gets home and we pick up where we left off, and we made it official. So we met May 23rd of 2007, and I want to say it was mid-June that we made it official. And then coincidentally, I happened to be house shopping and ended up finding this condo. And since since I was moving out, I asked her if she wanted to move in with me. She said yes. So we moved in together. This was about August. So
He's throwing around dates, and I'm sitting here like, because now my turn's coming up.
That's why I went very.
It's 2020 now.
Do the math.
But yeah, so we moved in together. So we met in May, moved in together in August. We got married May 23rd, 2008. So exactly 1 year to the day that we met. And then flash forward again, we had our first baby, Brinley, in 2010. And kind of back on the whole thing, she was due October 10th, because I remember it was 10/10/10 is when she was due. And we got told in June that she stopped growing. And so, again, being naive, we didn't really think much of it, but they said, they're like, if she thinks she's done growing, she's going to want to start to breathe. So pretty much from here on out, have a bag packed and be ready, because we're going to have to take her any day. Well, she made it to September. She was about 3 weeks early, but she came out, she was only 4 pounds, 10 ounces.
Wow, tiny.
Yeah.
Itty.
See, and it's funny, me and Kara just had a baby at the same time too. And we actually have a picture of our two girls next to each other. And our baby, I mean, probably normal sized baby, was literally twice the size of Brinley.
Yeah.
It was like a toddler
Wow.
next to him. It was crazy. But yeah, the doctor warned us. He said he said everything looks good. The only thing I cannot check is her lungs. We won't know that until she comes out. Well, she came out screaming, and everything was good. Oh, she was breached, so we had to have a C-section. But yeah, everything was good. And then I'm just gonna kind of skip forward we had Jude, and we tried for Jude for about a year and a half, because we, at about the 2-year mark after having Bryn, we started trying, and we just could not get pregnant. And so finally, after about a year and a half, we got pregnant with Jude. We were so excited to know he was a little boy, and Jude went a lot smoother, other than the fact that he just beat Jenny up. Like, that pregnancy was not easy on her. She wasn't really sick, but she was just constantly exhausted and horrible headaches and stuff. And so she had a C-section with him just to basically get him out as quickly
To
as possible.
exercise the demons.
Pretty much. But yeah,
She was standing up in her stirrups. Get this demon out of me!
Splash her with the holy water.
But yeah, and then after that, I wanted to be done having kids. I was like, I've got one of each. I'm just feeling like we're done. And we kind of were both on the same page a little. She was a little hesitant. And then about 3 years later, I want to say, all of a sudden we kind of had a surprise pregnancy. And that kind of answered my question to if we should have another, because when Jenny showed me that positive stick, I got so excited. I was like, this is fantastic. And at about the 7-week mark, we went in for our first appointment, and there was no heartbeat. And our doctor was really nice about it. And that's when he actually told us, he's like, the odds honestly are very slim of even getting pregnant. And so we're like, okay, I guess it is what it is. So at least at this point, we knew we wanted to try. So now we were trying to have a baby, and it just was not happening. We were taking fertility pills, doing everything you could, and we were just getting so discouraged because we're like, we have 2 babies already. So obviously we know everything works.
You know what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
We've done it twice before.
And so...
And we practice a lot.
Yeah.
So finally we get pregnant, and we're like, awesome, okay, this is great. We even went out, we bought a bigger vehicle and everything, because we're like, okay, the odds of having 2 miscarriages in a row is slim to none, so yeah, this is great, we're set. We go in for our first appointment, we see the heartbeat and everything, we're like, this is awesome. Well, our doctor was like, I want to see you back here in a week. And he's like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. He said, it looks a little faint. He's like, so I want to see you back here in a week and prepare yourself. And so a week later, we go in, and again, no heartbeat. I'm like, son of a gun. Like 2 in a row. And so at this point, we were scarred. And so we took some time, and then we decided that we will try one more time. And we even decided to do, it's called an IUI, where basically they take my stuff and put it in hers.
In a baster.
Basically, yes.
So that's basically what happened in that movie we were talking about.
Got you.
But they
They should put a squeaker in it.
Auga!
But they take my stuff and they like clean it, so it's literally right down to just the sperm and stuff,
Yeah.
and then they put it up in there and everything, and it, sorry, but
Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out how
sorry.
to clean it.
Told you I'm immature.
yeah, so we said going into this too, we're like, this is our final straw. If this doesn't work, then that's our sign we're just done having kids. And so after the procedure, we wait the month and it doesn't work. And so we're like, okay, well, we tried. That's our answer. We've got our 2 beautiful babies. We're just going to be happy with what we've got. Well, then a month later, surprise, surprise, Jenny's pregnant. And this one actually sticks. But through the whole pregnancy, we didn't tell people until Jenny was almost, like, to the point where she almost couldn't hide it anymore. And even right up until birth, I still didn't even want to, like, I don't know, like how I said with Brinley and even Jude, I would talk to her belly and stuff. With this one, I didn't, because I was just, I don't want to get a connection to this baby and have it not work out. And, so yeah, as soon as she was born, though, instant connection, everything was good. That slight scare, though, while I was standing over, so Kelsey is our 3rd one, and this was just this last March. So she's 7 months old now, a little over 7 months. But I was over in the corner while they were cleaning her up, weighing her, doing all that stuff, and they were stitching Jenny up. She went C-section again, and they were stitching her up. Well, then all of a sudden, kind of out of the, like, I could kind of hear over my shoulder them saying something about the bleeding's not stopping. And I was just like, I instantly was just like, what?
Well, stop it.
Exactly. I was like, there's no way we're going to try this hard to have my 3rd baby just for me to turn around and lose my wife. Like, that, I was sick. But then they gave her the same type of shot that puts girls into labor, that
Pitocin?
yeah, or maybe it was
Or
something else.
epidural.
No, it's
What's the
something
difference?
that like makes them contract.
Yeah,
That's Pitocin.
Is that Pitocin? Okay.
Yeah.
So they gave her that, and it just basically helps kind of clench everything up to help the bleeding and stuff, and that ended up helping, and we were good. And then yeah, so we have our Brinley just turned 10, Jude's 6, and Kelsey's 7 months, and things are fantastic.
That's awesome.
So,
Wow.
crazy.
It's crazy, just the variance in story and our relationships and in our families, just across you 3. I know we have 2 more to go. On to Zach. I know you're extremely tired, so we understand, but let's hear your story, man.
So, actually, Karen Eyes is kind of funny. So I had 2 really good friends at the time, and one of my buddies, he was at his dentist appointment. Met this girl who was helping clean his teeth and stuff like that. Decided to ask her out on a date. Well, this ended up being Kara's best friend. So they start dating, and I met her, and she's like, I have a friend who I think you'd really hook up well. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Give me your number. So basically, I get Kara's number, and I reach out to her. Well, in the meantime, my friend and this girl end up hating each other. They, just clashed, not good at all. And like I think they went on like 2 or 3 dates, and then that was it. Like after that, like when me and Kara would hang out, and I'd see her, like if I ever mentioned my buddy's name, she'd be like, "Oh, that stupid son of a," you know, all that stuff. Like they hated each other. But anyway, so it was December of 2006. Sorry, yeah, 2006. I had actually just came home from my mission, and they had started dating before I came home. That was a weird thing. And then I came home, and anyways, so I get Kara's phone number, and I just asked her on a date, and I think our first date was a BYU Utah basketball game.
Oh, fantastic!
And she's a BYU fan. I'm a Utah fan.
No,
I never knew that about
fan.
you.
What?
that you're a Utah fan.
Right? Yeah.
What gives it away?
Well, I don't know.
The red hair.
The red hair.
All the red stuff that I wear. So we go to this game. It was fun. I remember distinctly that night I ran like 4 stoplights. Kara's like pointing out, she goes, "That's red." "Oh, that one's red too." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
I can't see that car.
Beard.
No, I'm just going. We're in the middle of Salt Lake, and I'm just going.
Why?
I don't know, actually.
He was under the
Like,
influence.
were you like late to something or just?
No, it was just, we were just driving home. We were right by the temple.
He was Twitter.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
Did Utah lose? Were you just kind of like...
No, Utah won.
He saw red lights and he thought it meant go because he went to a
beautiful
youth
day.
game.
Right, exactly. I don't remember. Yeah, it's just, we were in Salt Lake, and I just went next to the temple, and I'm just going.
Apparently,
Just going.
with no stops. Yeah, that's great.
But anyway, so
Girls like bad boys.
I was working that.
Watch, I can
Trying
speed too.
So anyways, I ended up asking her on another date. This one we went and saw a movie, and that was the first time I held her hand. And to me, holding hands, that means something.
It's a big
I come to find out, it meant nothing to Kara. She's like, I hold guys' hands all the time, and I'm like,
I've been
gee,
warning you for
thanks.
years she's heartless.
Well,
so.
I made a joke out of it.
You hand holding hand.
I called her a hand slut. So
Kara!
Where I come from, that means something completely different.
I did not see that one coming.
oh, well, there goes my mic. Sorry,
Not the time for a mic
not
drop.
time for mic drop on that one.
Let's make sure we clear that. A lot of headphone users are going to be screaming.
Anyways, so she there used to be over at the Union Station. There used to be this country line dancing thing.
Oh yeah, I
going
remember
on.
that.
And I'm not a dancer, but of course I'm into Kara.
You with
She
your
does-
dancer body?
right? I don't know. I can move and jive. And anyways, I'm into Kara, so I was like, I'll go. I'll have some fun. Well, I go, and she like pays no attention to me. And
It's like high school all over.
it is, and I'm like, I'm getting frustrated. And I'm like, gosh. And so we end up doing this huge group date. And Kara's gonna probably kill me for talking about this. She hates when I talk about this.
Perfect.
But we end up doing this huge group date. We go bowling. And again, she ends up paying more attention to one of my buddies who showed up as a third wheel type person than myself.
Heartless.
And I come to find out she just felt bad for him and didn't want him to feel not included. And so
Terrible.
I took it as the other way, like, hey, you're my date. Come talk to me. But she like paid no attention to me. And on the drive home, my friends knew I was pissed because all of a sudden I'm turning on like corn.
And you're like flying through red lights.
I am.
No, this time he specifically stopped at every line. Even the green ones.
Right? I'm stopping everywhere. No, I'm turning on like hard rock music, and they're like trying to talk to me. They're like, "You okay?" And I'm like, "I'm fine. I'm good. Great."
Good, great, grand, wonderful. No yelling on the bus.
What's Corn telling you, huh?
And
Freak on a leash.
so I end up, we go to one more of those country line dancing things. And I'm telling my friend, I'm like, hey man, just find out where this is going. Because if it's not going anywhere, I'm not going to waste my time anymore. And so all this is like over a month period. And so he comes back to me afterwards and he's like, yeah man, she's not into it. It's not going to happen. You guys aren't going to date. Nothing's going to happen. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. That's fine. I had another girl kind of on the side who I was interested in.
Side
You
chick.
hussy.
I know, right?
Well, this relationship's filled with all sorts of heartbreak and hussies.
Was she a hand slut too?
She might have been. But so I was like, that's fine. I was like, I'll go date this other girl. So I start kind of seeing this other girl, and next thing you know, out of the blue, Kara kind of starts texting me. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. So this other girl ends up like just flaking out. Like it was like a couple dates and I was like, no, this ain't gonna happen. It just wasn't gonna happen. And so Kara asked me, I used to work at a shipping company we'd ship music CDs, videos, all that stuff. So I could get early access to some stuff. And she's like, hey, can you by chance get me the new Fall Out Boy CD?
She's
It did.
using you.
That's what I kind of felt like. It
Not
didn't
only
come
was
out
she
for like,
using you, but you were her safety net.
right? Well, and that's, I was
Burner.
like, so we hadn't talked in like 3 months, and she's like, hey, I know you work at this place. Like, do you think you could get me this album, the new Fall Out Boy CD? And I'm like, yeah, sure, that's fine. So I get it for her, and I take it up to her work, and like, I don't know, something clicked in me, and I was like, I've got to try again. Like I'm seeing something, so I got to try again. So we actually start talking more and more. This is probably April. Within a month, it was May 28th. I ended up kissing her, and for the first time.
That didn't mean much to her.
Well, the funny thing is, after we start talking, after we, I get talking to her again, and I'm like, what is going on?
I'm sorry.
He's laughing at his own jokes still.
Well, I saw Tony kind of laughing, and I just think of their relationship, and it just kind of made me laugh.
Well, we start talking about how when we first met, I was like, why didn't things end up working out there? And she goes, in all honesty, she's like, number one, I was scared of you. She's like, I felt something that I was scared of. And I'm like, okay. I said, well then.
She was afraid to lose her soul.
No, she's a redhead too.
Yes.
I forgot that.
Yeah.
She was afraid you'd take all the ones she's stolen.
I want them all for myself. And I come to find out that my so-called friend was lying to me.
That dude.
He actually wanted to date her. And so he was telling me all these lies that she didn't want anything to do with me, this and that. And at the bowling
tragedy
thing,
story.
well, like at the bowling incident, stuff like that, like I guess she was trying to come talk to me, but like he was making it so she couldn't.
Was it Tom?
And no. I didn't know Tom for years after that.
Oh.
But anyways, and so
That's Jack, dude.
I know.
Like,
That's
super
messed
jacked
up.
up.
and it's funny because me and Kara still talk about this, and she hates it when I talk about it because I get so pissed off about it.
This isn't one of the friends that you talked about in one of the earlier episodes that left you and the girl went, well, no, the girl didn't go with because you're still married to her.
Nope. You answer your own question.
Night bulb.
I'm just having high hopes, that's all.
Oh.
Yeah, it turns out this
Just
whole story's about
right?
a different character.
All right, let him finish his story.
Sorry, go ahead. We
So
were all quiet for each other.
Yeah.
We'll shut up now.
yeah, you could. So end of July 28th, was when I asked her to marry me. What gave me the idea is actually we were downstairs one day, and her brother was just like, "You guys gonna get married? Why don't you guys just get married?" And I finally clicked at me, and I looked at Karen, and I said,
You want to do that?
"Why don't we?" And she was like, "Are you being serious?" And I was like, maybe. And so we went and prayed about it and talked about it and basically, went and found out for ourselves. We gave each other a week, basically. Just said, let's find out for ourselves that this is what we should do. And I basically flat out told her there, I said, you realize that if either of us get the answer, no, this isn't going to work out with one of us, I said, it's done. We're done. There's no point continuing this, anymore. And she goes, yeah, that's perfectly fine. So we gave ourselves a week. And we both got the answer, like, yes, we're with each other. So when I went to take her to propose to her, I took her down to the Salt Lake Temple and walked around Temple Square. And here's the funny thing. So I lied to her and I said, hey, we're going to go see the Simpsons movie. And she was like, okay. And she goes, why are we going to Salt Lake for that? And I was like, well, it's in IMAX. And I've never been to an IMAX. So I want to go to the IMAX, see the Simpsons movie.
Yeah, now for those of you that don't know, Zach is a huge movie buff. So
Yes.
This is not out of the realm of possibility.
No, it's not. That was what's so perfect about it. And so, anyways, we stopped by Temple Square, and she's like, and I was like, well, we're early. We're about an hour, before the movie starts. I said, so let's just go take a walk around. So, anyways, we walk around, and then finally, I just found a perfect spot, got on one knee, proposed, and then I had planned it with her parents and her brother, her brothers and sister-in-laws and stuff, and they come popping out of the corner and enjoy all this stuff, and everything's all said and done, and we go back to get in the car and we start driving home, and she's like, wait, are we really not going to the Simpsons movie? And I was like, really? I proposed to you and that's all you have? And she's like, I still want to see the Simpsons movie. And I said, oh, don't worry, we will.
Same with Shaylee. What, no food?
Right? Right?
Out the gate. Still not pleased. Still not pleased.
Still, no.
You give them a diamond ring,
I
they
know.
still want more.
Still wanted more.
This comes with a burrito, right?
So, and then we were actually married November 15th. And so it was actually almost close to 11 months to the day when we first met each other. The first time we met each other, it was 11 months till we were married.
Wow.
And so, we were, 20 years old at the time.
Yeah, you
we
guys
got
were
married.
youngins.
Yeah, we were.
That was
all you guys
that
were
was
young.
Jenny. She turned 19 on May 15th, and then we got married May 23rd. So she was literally like a week into 19 years old when we got married.
See, that's yeah.
Literally
we were,
like snatching babies out of a cradle.
we were 20, almost 21, and we got married. Within a couple of years, I think we were almost 23. 2010, we had our first daughter, just right around the same time as Tony and Jenny. In fact, it was within a couple weeks of each other?
Pretty close.
When's Bren's birthday?
September.
Yeah, so Katie was
September
born in
26th.
August.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we had, and this is where something that we always felt bad about, and it wasn't something that we necessarily should have, but we did, because we felt bad for you guys, because me and Tony, got really close, and we still are, not that we got, we still are, but Tony and Jenny struggled when it came to getting pregnant, and Kara and I, it was nothing. Like, I remember when we had our second child, or the second or third.
Was it the fifth?
Anyways,
We gave away 4.
so Kara gets off of her.
Carry the 2. Yeah, that's correct.
Kara gets off of her birth control, and the doctor's like, "Hey, just practice around." He's like, "It's going to take a couple of months," and so we're like, "Okay, that's great." So we're just doing our thing, and all of the next, she comes walking into that. I'm in the bedroom. She comes walking in, and she goes, "I'm pregnant," and the first thing out of my mouth was, "Oh shit."
He's all right on.
And she's like, "Really? You can't even be excited?" And I said, "I was expecting a couple months of practice, not just immediately pregnant."
No sex anymore.
We just got back to it.
Right? And so, but that was, in fact, and I don't think I ever told you this, this is one of the reasons why I always struggled with us actually getting pregnant so fast, is I lost a friend over it with our first child. We had gotten...
What? You lost a friend?
Yes. I had a really good friend who, back in high school, junior high, elementary, junior high, high school, all that stuff. So him and his wife got pregnant at the same time that we got pregnant with Katie. Well, they ended up having a miscarriage. And this was right, we had planned a Disneyland trip together with each other. And the day of us going to Disneyland, they found out that they had a miscarriage. And so we were like, okay, well, we're going to pump it up. And I even pulled him aside and I said, hey, man, like, I feel for you. Like, I'm so sorry. I was like, but please, if we get overbearing or if we're looking at baby clothes or it's upsetting, please let me know. And he goes, no, it's happy for you guys too. And I said, but there needs to be a boundary. I said, it's still going to be hard on you guys. And he was like, no. He's like, we're happy for you guys. Do your thing. And so there was one point where we were at Disneyland and Kara had pulled the baby thing off the thing and his wife pretty much just walked away. And I was like, okay, maybe we shouldn't be looking. And so we kind of, from that point on, I don't know what happened with our friendship. We've never really got to talk about it, but we pretty much separated. Like
Wow.
we weren't the same after that. And so, because it was so hard for them, because they were the same way. They struggled and struggled and struggled for years. And then here was me and Kara, just no struggle, popping kids out left and right.
So in essence, you thought you were going to lose Tony as a friend because
And that's
this lost
kind of what
friendship.
we were worried about. Yes, like
Okay.
we were, not to like point out anything with Jenny or anything, but Kenny or Jared. Oh my
Kenny?
goodness,
Who's
Jared.
Kenny?
Who's kidding Jara? Who's kidding Jara?
Can you Jara?
Kara and Jenny had some conversations, and Jenny had known her frustrations, and Kara felt so horrible, and I was like, you can't feel bad about it, but at the same time, yeah, we were, because I don't think we've ever voiced that opinion to you guys, but we lost a friend over it, so we were always so worried, like.
I
Crap.
remember that. I remember that story. And honestly, I didn't think that was fair on you guys to feel bad.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
like
yeah,
they
I
were
agree.
holding it against you for having a successful pregnancy.
Yeah.
I mean, we keep telling you,
celebrate
Zach,
with
we're your
Kara.
only actual friends. These other people you know are a bunch of dicks. Because that's ridiculous. Like,
Yeah, that's.
I know it sucks.
It's
does.
it's weeding out those people who probably shouldn't be in your life.
Yeah, even the fact that you went to them and were like, "Hey, like, we're willing to,
Yeah.
you know,
We're willing
Be-
to basically
be-
hide our emotions.
exactly. We're willing to not show excitement to help you feel better, and then for them to get mad
Yeah.
is stupid."
Yeah.
Well, it's childish and selfish.
Well, yeah, and it was very frustrating, but so
Yeah, because I mean, we had some hard times, but I always wanted to celebrate with my friends a joyous thing like that. You know what I mean?
yeah,
For
We
sure.
almost talk about it. It helped to talk about it.
Yeah.
Having a miscarriage and stuff. But
Now, what about your other two? Because that was your first one. That was Katie.
yeah. What about the other
And
two?
then came the one. Well,
All
Austin,
right.
they
Well, there
came
you
about
go.
the same way as the first one.
Okay. Okay. Well, I guess the other two don't.
The other
matter,
two
so-
1 week post birth.
there was
When
one,
that-
and then there was three. We're
When the
done.
other one wiped her butt on the shower curtain, she was dead to him.
She literally did wipe her butt on the shower
We
curtain.
know. We know.
Well, I mean, remember
Ink
our little
blot.
elf friends told us.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, Snowy and Steve.
That's right. Yes.
That's hilarious.
She's
No,
just
I
trying
mean-
to make an ink blot.
Daddy, what does this look like?
No.
Looks like crap.
Disturbing. It's a poop. It's a big giant poop.
No, Rose and Ronnie came around. I mean, it was so Katie was there, and then Rose. It was the same thing. It was, hey, let's try for a kid, and I'm like, okay. And then one
Next
night,
day.
I mean,
FedEx delivery, Amazon special.
It was literally like no joke. Like the first night, like I was trying to be super protective. Like I wasn't ready to have the second child yet, and there was just one night where I was like, I don't care. And of course, that was the night that I got Kara pregnant.
Stork's got a jetpack.
Boom.
Right. And then same thing with the third child. It was, hey, you guys got a couple months to practice, so just enjoy it. Well, that didn't work out.
You just point to that doctor
every time?
You're a darn liar,
Did it get to you every time? You're like,
Well, that's the funny thing. Kara always makes fun of me for it because she would come to me and say, "Hey, I'm pregnant," and I'd be like, "Gosh dang it!" And she's like, "Really? Thank you. You could be excited." I was like, "No, I am excited. I was just looking forward to the practice part."
Either you're a real good catcher, or I'm a real good pitcher.
I think she's a real good catcher is the issue.
Yeah, give him come on.
It's that hand whore. Or hand slut.
it's all. Give it to me. Give it to me now.
I'm grabbing onto everything I can find.
Holy crap! That picture,
Look at you go. That's awesome.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's
Sorry,
great.
real quick, I gotta interrupt, be a little selfish here. I forgot to talk or mention my proposal.
Oh, go for it. Yeah,
We all
yeah,
did the proposals. So I proposed to Jenny at the zoo, but so we were living together already, but she didn't know the proposal was coming. So I had bought the ring and everything, and we went in November. And so it was cold, and I remember I had my big jacket on, and while she was still in the bathroom getting ready, I'm standing out in the living room looking in the mirror trying to figure out which pocket was going to hide the ring the best and stuff. And then the whole time at the zoo, she kept like going to hold my hand, or like I thought she was going to reach and put her hand in my pocket, so I'd hurry and like grab her hand and stuff.
Get away from me!
But I would like grab her hand and like hang on to it like, oh,
I'm not marrying a hand whore.
Don't be like Kara.
But yeah, so we did the whole zoo and stuff, and then on the way out I was like, oh wait, I forgot something, and I ran into the customer service and I was like, hey, can one of you come out and take a picture of me and my girlfriend? I'm going to propose to her. And they're like, yeah. And I was like, okay, I'm like, just take a picture of us smiling, and then I'll say, let's do one more. And so we stand out there. She takes one picture of us, and Jenny walks up to go get the camera. And I was like, oh, wait, hang on, let's take one more. And I remember I had it in my head that I was going to use like her full name. I was going to be very proper and stuff. And I get down on one knee, get the ring out. No, I got down on one knee, pulled the ring out, and I was like, babe. That's all I got out. Babe, will you marry me? And
Shiny.
stuff. And
Hey,
Then the box, the ring.
I don't plan the magic. I am the magic.
There we go.
but,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
So I just had to hurry and throw that in there because, yeah.
That's cute.
I'm loving this so much because I'm learning so much about all of us. I'm actually kind of mad that this is stuff that I didn't know.
I was hoping
Agreed.
you would have pulled it off like a tiger's tail or something. You wrestle it down and you're like, look what I got you.
Was this just in his throat?
Oh, it has your name on it.
Why would her ring have her name on it?
I don't know, man. You just wrestled it out of a tiger and that's the weird part.
That is the weird part because I wrestle tigers on a daily.
I practiced for 8 hours.
Oh, gosh.
Anywho, Austin, wrap it up.
Yeah. I'll take that to note. I'll take note of that in more ways than one. So,
Real.
gosh,
I wish I would have taken note.
I don't even know where to start, to be honest, because
At the beginning.
yeah, that's a good spot. So Jess and I, we were connected through an intermediary friend, and we had just been texting and sending each other pictures and stuff like that just before we actually were able to go on our first date. And so we kind of got a good vibe for who we each were. And I remember, like, at this point in my relationship life, I had just gotten out of 2 very toxic relationships back to back. They were both very lengthy relationships at that time.
I remember those.
Yeah.
And so at this point in my dating life or dating career, whatever you want to call it, I was almost just like I didn't care anymore. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to date someone, but I was like, I'm not gonna. I hated the front. I hated the dating front of like pretending to be someone that you weren't.
Dating sucks.
Dating is the worst.
If there's anything you take from this podcast, it's don't try and don't care and you will get married.
So true.
Hey, Hey,
so true.
that is the title of this podcast.
Don't try it, don't care, and you will get married.
It's just be authentic. Just be your authentic self.
The thing I always hated is people kept, it'll happen when you least expect it. It'll happen when you least expect it. And then it happened when I least expected it.
And then you get pissed off that they were right.
Yeah.
So cliche. Dang it.
Yeah. And so I was sending Jess these stupid pictures. Like stupid. Not like that.
I wasn't getting it. Wow.
No, it was just like me being dumb. You know what I mean? Just like I just didn't care. I was,
Abercrombie poses.
yeah, whatever. You know? And so she got a good feeling for who I was, and I sent her this picture of me in Mexico where I was wearing a stupid horse head mask. And she loved it. She thought it was the funniest thing she'd ever seen ever. And so I was like, cool. And so we just kept talking, and eventually we got around to the idea of we're going to meet up for our first date. And we got this stupid joke going where I told her, I'm like, I'm going to propose. I'm like, I'm just going to show up and I'm just going to propose. And so I show up, and I meet her in the coffee shop, and we have this long, lengthy conversation. It was great. She was very pretty. And so I was like, okay, well, again, I'm not trying to front. I'm not trying to be someone who I'm not. So I'm just going to take her on a wild ride. I'm going to take her on a date that she's never in a million years done. And so I decided it'd be a great idea to take that stupid horse head mask and take her on a date to pose on furniture in R.C. Willey. And I was like, it was
That's
so
cool.
stupid, but it was so unique. And because she loved that horse head mask picture, I was like, we're just going to make our own. And so I drive down to R.C. Willey, have her get out, and I put the mask on, and I'm like, hey, let's go in and have fun. And she was like, first date? Like, she was looking at me like, I don't know whether
We're buying furniture together?
Yeah. And so anyway, we go in, and we're posing, and we're being stupid and having fun and taking all these pictures. And at the end of the date, I get down on one knee with a stupid ring pop, and I proposed to her wearing a horse head mask. It was just a stupid joke, and she loved it. Anyway, after that, I convinced her to come over to the house, and we were just gonna have some dinner, and ended up making like some chicken fajitas, some tacos, and went great. So we had this weird relationship where it was kind of like back and forth for a little while, because like I said, even though she was a fantastic person, me mentally, I was just not in that headspace to really want to date. It was just, two bad relationships back to back, and you're just like,
It's draining.
It is. Yeah. It's super draining. And so it was weird because, like you guys, I knew she was the perfect girl at the worst possible time for me mentally. And so a few months go by, and we actually had a little bit of a falling out. Kind of stopped talking. Well, anyway, I think she added me on Facebook, and it out of nowhere caught me by surprise, and I was like, oh, so it reignited things, and it turns out she did this on purpose. She totally had planted the seed. Yeah. And so we were supposed to meet up. I'm trying to remember the timeline specifically, but there was a time where we were supposed to meet up for a date on Valentine's Day. And it's still in that same headspace. I was like, I don't know if I want to. And she was just like, okay, well, if I don't hear from you by this time, I'm just going to go to Park City, and I'm just going to go have a date by myself. And I was still wrestling with that idea in my mind, I don't know if I'm ready for this next step. And so she ends up going. And right as I called her, and I'm like, you know what? Yeah, let's go on that date. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm already halfway to Park City. And I'm like, and I kind of kicked myself for that. And it was in that moment, and I'm so proud that she did, because it was in that moment that I realized she didn't need me. And in her not needing me made me realize that she was perfect for me. And so I was like, that's cool. I hated it in the moment, but I was like, I respect that, and I like that a lot. And so we ended up going on a snowboarding date with, kind of like a snowboarding. Anyway, we went with snowboarding with my dad, and that solidified it. We were roughhousing, snowboarding, throwing snowballs at each other, tackling each other in the snow, spend a whole day just doing what I love, and that solidified it for me. So fast forward like a month, I asked her out, and then I want to say it was a full year that we dated, and the following year I got a ring, and we were. What are you shaking your head for?
You got a ring.
Oh yeah. And so I bought a ring, and I went and I can't remember what we were doing or where we came back from, but I just knew, I want to say we went down to Zion with her parents, and my entire idea was that weekend I was going to ask her dad for her, like, his blessing, and basically just ran out of time. I couldn't find any time to like pull him aside that was natural, that felt right. So we were in the garage unpacking, and Jess ran inside to pack up or something, and I'm like in the garage, I look at Ron and I'm like, I got something to ask you. He's like, yeah, and I like instant tears. I could not, like, instant choke, and I'm like trying to formulate sentences and words, and he just looks at me, he's like, I know what you're trying to say. And he starts welting up, and he's like, and yes, you can. And so I was like, oh, thank God. I was like,
Can we just hug it out?
I couldn't get it out. And so he's like, okay, we need to get ourselves together because she's going to be out here soon. So I was like, okay. So anyway, we pack up. 5 months go by. I have yet to ask her. I still got the ring, and I've got the blessing. We go mountain biking with her parents at Deer Valley. And at the end of the day, Ron's like, so, any update on anything big happening? He's like, because I need to request my time off for next year if any big events are going to happen. And I was like, I need to ask. Dang it, I do need to ask. So it was that like little nudge that I was like, okay, it's time. And so I lined up this amazing photo shoot with our friend Jarvie, who's a phenomenal photographer.
Fantastic.
I was like, yeah, we just need to get some, couple photos. Let's just go get our couple photos done. And so we took Stella, and we were up getting these pictures done, and that was, what she didn't know is I was our engagement photo shoot. And so we go up there, we finally find this perfect little grove, and I get down on one knee, and kind of like you, Tony, I was like, I get down, I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm going to say her full name, I'm going to like say these things, and I instead, I don't even get out like, will you marry me? I say like, will you be mine? And I was like, what are you doing?
It's Valentine's.
But yeah, she accepted, and it was seriously one of the best days of my life. And then we got married, and it's been a roller coaster ever since. And God, I wish I could drop months and dates and years and stuff, but I can't.
When did you get married again, Chris?
September 30th,
Okay.
2006.
For some reason I thought you said
I
May
love
or
you, babe.
something. Because 3 of us have been married in May.
Yeah.
Yeah. I proposed, I think, in April.
In all fairness, I was first.
Okay, fine. I was
Yeah.
born in May, though, so suck it.
So was Jenny.
I know she was.
I was born
But way
first.
after me.
So I proposed it on October 14th, and then we got married the following year on May
Weird. I
7th.
didn't know you proposed in October, too.
You got
October
you did.
27th.
Yeah. October 14th, and then May 7th.
Didn't you
is when
propose
we-
in October?
No, mine was in July.
Oh,
What
okay.
about you, Tony?
Yeah.
November.
Oh, close enough.
So, I'm trying to think of, but as far as marriage goes, I cannot stress this enough. Who you are marrying, you're also marrying into the family. You're marrying into your father-in-law, your mother-in-law.
Yeah.
And
Oh, that's a
man,
whole other podcast itself.
man, it is fantastic if you can get incredible in-laws. I just
Say
gotta say that.
My in-laws
I
are
love my
incredible,
in-laws.
but that can still be a tough one. It's
Yeah.
not more the mother and father-in-law, it's more the sibling in-laws.
It's
Yeah.
a package
Well,
tax.
it all depends, too. And I mean,
Yeah.
they're completely different dynamics of how
It
they
is.
were raised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It took
Like,
years.
down to like, oh, we make our mac and cheese this way. No, that's dumb. We make it this way. Like, literally any little thing can be some weird, like, slippery hazard for a moment.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that's where that divorce, like we were saying, comes in. is those newlyweds who are still just trying to get to know each other. Instead of working through those speed bumps and getting to know each other, they're just immediately like, oh, maybe this was a mistake, we're out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you need to get out of your own way and realize that you're not the center of the universe. Like, other people can do the same thing different ways.
Yeah. So the fun thing about Jess and I is we started dating in 2014, got married in 2016, had Micah 2018, had Paige 2020. So every 2 years, something happens.
So what's 2022?
I don't know,
They're
man.
going to adopt some Haitians.
Yeah, but
Some Haitians?
Yeah, from Haiti.
Hey,
Oh.
in-law thing. I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor of the in-laws. I am a success story.
It's true.
yeah.
As we learned, a couple podcasts
What was it,
ago.
a chicken...
No, that wasn't the in-law. Oh yeah,
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
But same as you, Zach. As far as pregnancy goes, my goodness, dude. Very first time that we could knock it out of the park, it gets home run.
Yep.
And then and then we have our beautiful daughter Micah. She's turning into such a fun little girl. But and then 2 years later, we're not even 2 years later, a year and a half barely, and Jess is like, so last week,
Remember that one night?
you that just happened to be the one time, the very first time after that we could conceive, and we did. And I'll never forget when she told me, because she had Micah come running out in a shirt that says Big Sister, and she rounds the corner, and I'm looking at her and I'm like, what is she wearing?
You take that off right now.
Well, thank goodness the camera was rolling.
Yeah, and I'm like, no. And panic just struck me. Oh my gosh, like the first one, pure joy. Pure joy. I remember when Micah told me, or when Jess told me that she was pregnant with our baby Micah, it was just tears and just joy, and like my world was just like blown away. Because we were, it was that logical next progressional step for us and where we were in our relationship and where we were in life. And I realized how much work babies were. And then she's surprised because we were going to have a second child. We just didn't want a second child as soon as we had. And that was just like, no, we're not ready. Oh no, all this dread. But now that we have them as close as they are, oh my gosh, it's amazing. At least right now. And I don't know how close your daughters are. I'm imagining they're fairly close.
Yeah, so what? Katie's 10, Rose is 7, and Ronnie's 4.
Oh, okay, so they're actually pretty spaced apart. So
Yeah.
Paige and Micah are less than 2 years spaced apart. But Micah loves Paige, loves her. She'll kiss her, hug her. She always wants to hold her, and it is just the most incredible thing to watch as a father. Just watching these two girls bond and grow together. I love it. So this has been a fun podcast.
Our kids are going to go back and listen to this, and they're going to look at the oldest one and be like, I knew you were the favorite. They were excited to have you. They weren't excited to have us.
I gotta say, to clear that, we definitely wanted a second child.
Well, and it's different for a man. Like,
Yeah.
when you hear about a child, the first thing that goes through your head is, how am I going to keep it alive? Like, that is
Exactly.
literally the first thought. You're like, oh, crap, money, food, clothes, things. I mean, I'm happy for the child, but things.
Things cost a lot of
With
money.
how cheap I am, I think that's why I had all 3 girls.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it would have
I
been
was like,
all
you're going
3,
to learn to spend. boy.
all 3 of the same sex. Let's put it that way, because I didn't
passed
have
down.
to. It did. It was all hand-me-downs.
Now,
Like, sweet.
Yeah.
I gotta ask because Cam and Zach all have girls.
Yep, so
I have all girls for now, so far. You have 2 girls, and you have a boy. But as far as the girls go,
Tony has one boy too.
Are you? I know. Did I say that?
You just said
Oh,
two
you
girls.
So you have two girls.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
With
thought
a boy in the middle.
Yeah, I thought I said that. I'm sorry. As far as just the girls go, all right. Did you want boys coming out of the gate, or did you are you thankful that it's been girls?
I hope that my kid doesn't go back and listen to this. I was praying for a boy for my third child.
Yeah.
I was praying, and I was legit a little devastated. Now, would I give up Ronnie for anything in the world? No.
No, yeah.
But I was legit a little devastated when I found out the third one was a girl again. And to tell you how much I wanted a boy, we were going to use my dad's name, which is Ron, somewhere in there. And so I had already predetermined, like, it's going to be a boy, the middle name's going to be Ronald, all that stuff. And then it comes a girl, and I'm like, well, still using Ron, so that's where we came with Ronnie.
I gotcha.
So, but yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little devastated.
I wanted my first one to be a boy, as I think most people do.
Yeah.
As a little protector.
Yeah. But now, like, finding out it was a girl, it wasn't like I was disappointed. It was just kind of like oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
and now having Brinley. What?
Okay.
No, I can iterate the same feeling. Is like I wanted a boy, and then when I found out that we were having a girl, it didn't matter. Because I mean,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. Like it doesn't really matter what you want. You're gonna get what you need. And I can tell you right now that I've become such a better man and father because of my two daughters.
Yeah.
So
I always wanted a little girl. Like I always wanted like a little daddy's girl.
I did too.
Well, I definitely wanted a girl. I just didn't want a girl first.
Yeah.
I do still want a boy, but now he'll be if he comes, he'll be third, and it'll
I didn't
have the
care.
influence of sisters.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say your story, Chris. You were just ready for kids.
I
I just
period.
want a baby.
But I did need a boy. He's taught me a lot of patience. Like he's a good kid, but they teach you a lot of
Oh yeah.
think before you react. And
No, I'm sure that
with
is
boys.
coming.
With a girl, I think though you're a little more as a father lenient with stuff like that. But as a little boy, it's like no, you're a boy. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
You know,
Toughen up.
it's so funny with that because I get so impatient with Jude and Jenny with Brinley, and it's like I have Brinley's back 9 times out of 10, and vice versa, Jenny with Jude.
Yeah.
And it's funny how we've
That
taken
dynamic.
how we've taken them under our wings and stuff because Jenny and Brinley clash so bad, and so I have to, and again vice versa, me and Jude, and I don't know if it's because where he's a boy and I'm a boy, I'm just immediately like, no, you shouldn't act like that, come on, toughen up. And Jenny's same thing with Brinley,
I think
where
that has
as
a lot to do.
opposite sexes we don't understand it, so therefore we're like, no, you're being too hard on him, blah blah blah, and so
I would agree.
No, I think so too. Yeah.
There's times where Kara will get so frustrated with the girls, and I feel like I have their back, and it's like, calm down.
Yeah.
You know, like it's okay. I feel like there is a clash. It's that same sex clash, and
yeah.
With Alden, it taught me a lot of lessons.
Yeah.
Because my dad was always the toughen up and don't show your emotion, and you know what I mean? Like, don't be a crybaby, don't do this. With Alden, I catch myself having to come back and actually analyze the situation and be like, it's okay to be upset about it. It's not. So with my dad, you can't act this way, you shouldn't think this way. With me, with Alden, it's like, it's okay that you're upset, but how you're handling this is very inappropriate and you can't handle it this way. So it's been such a growth for me.
Yeah. I think
sure.
fatherhood in general
Yeah.
is
Oh
just
yeah.
uncharted territory.
Well, it's
And-
one of those things that teaches you, like, you grow up thinking, oh, my parents, they know everything, they know what's going on. They didn't know crap.
No.
Yeah.
Dude, they
They
knew
don't know.
nothing about what was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is the most frustrating part about this all too, is my mom will always, she'll be like, you know what? She's like, I raised you guys, I've got experience, you should take my advice because I've been there, I've done that. And it's like, yes, you have. But now we're here to experience it, and we want to experience it our way.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well,
so if we-
and not even to mention, that was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, that's when
so
kids
much
were
has
sleeping in the
changed.
back, the back window,
Right.
driving down the freeway.
Every kid's different too. I mean, every situation's different. All of it. I mean,
Right.
See, and I will tell you this too, because my parents always made fun of it. Because it's me and 3 older brothers, so there's 4 boys, My parents were like, on the first one, we were strict. We wanted the rules this way. Second one came around, we still wanted to be strict. Third and fourth one, we didn't care anymore.
Yeah. That's like
And
the weird.
It's the honest truth. Like with Katie, like we're figuring out things for the first time, and we're so strict. But then when it slides down to Ronnie, there's things that Ronnie gets away with that Katie never would have got
But
away
you
with.
realize that maybe it didn't matter trying to be strict about that certain.
Yeah.
It's always
Yeah.
growth.
Yeah.
We
It's a
have
lot
to
of
keep
growth.
kind of putting ourselves in place. It's like, hey, we can't be hard on Bryn just because she's the oldest. It's like
She's
we have
supposed
it
to
in
be
our
the example.
exactly. Yeah, we always have to
I'm
backpedal
gonna
that.
make the example of the oldest.
Dude, that's the thing that sucks though, is I hate punishing my kids.
I hate it too.
So much. To the point of where, like, if we punish Kaylee, for one, sometimes, do you ever, like,
Cam takes
come
her
up
to get
with
ice
these
cream afterwards.
stupid, like, punishments?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, you do that again, you're sleeping in the backyard. I don't know, something, like, you just, like, say
Oh,
something stupid that comes out
That's
to your
Jenny's
mind.
go-to.
I
You're sleeping
literally-
outside.
I told my kids once, I
You're
said,
like,
you're sleeping outside in the backyard with the spiders and the bugs, and they're like, no. Well, and then half an hour later, I catch them doing it again. I will literally grab them, drag them towards the door as they're kicking and screaming. I'm like, no, you're sleeping outside. No, Dad, no.
Dude, it's all a game of poker.
Tears in their eyes, and I'm like, you gonna do it again? No. They won't do it again because it's like they realize.
If only
oh, man,
they
I'm
knew how
dragging
scared
them.
Dad was of spiders.
Right.
How scared Dad was that they'd actually let him take him outside. Because you never want to fulfill it. You're like, I want you to break before we get to the outside, and then I have to make you sleep on the ground.
So one of the with parenting, one of the biggest things I learned is if you say there's going to be punishment, you got to stick to it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That is so hard.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's hard because it's a punishment on you to keep the
No,
punishment.
100%.
Like, this sounds
That's
stupid,
parenting.
and this sounds stupid, but it's like one of the punishments we do is like no Nintendo, no YouTube, no electronics.
and
but-
then they just bug you.
Exactly. That is it. Then they're at your feet. I'm bored. I don't
go
wanna-"
do
Like,
something.
you got toys. You got markers. Go paint. Go color. Go play with your toys.
Go
You-
outside.
You know what that makes me think though? Like telling them they can't have these electronics. Like we grew up without electronics. Like go
No,
be
it's a
normal.
good thing.
Go
It's
be
a good
normal.
thing.
Like
That's
too much. You know what I mean?
No.
It's weird.
No kidding. I told Jude, I was like, go use your imagination. And he looks right at me. I don't want to use my imagination. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've failed. Like, I remember at his age, I was play fighting. I was coming up with all kinds of
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
just out of my head.
Yeah.
And
You still do. You still ninja fight. in your living room.
He had
See,
ninja
I-
fights.
I give her a path of redemption because, like, you
Yeah.
give a punishment and I'm like, I don't want to fulfill this, but I have to.
You have to.
So then you're like, okay, well, you can do this and we'll lift the punishment. Like,
Yeah.
you give them a path of redemption. Exactly.
Yeah.
for sure.
And then you're like, yes, I don't have to do it.
But you still got to teach them. You know.
Exactly. Like, they got themselves out of the mess.
It's all about-
they repented. They got out of there.
It's action and consequence. There's always a
Exactly.
consequence, and if you're gonna do the action, you got to stick to that consequence, no matter. And as a parent, I mean, they say parenting's hard. It is because you have
Way
to stick
hard.
to it. You have to do it, and it's just. And my dad always was like, "Oh, son, this is gonna hurt me a lot more, and it's gonna hurt you." I was like, "You're so full of crap."
It makes you
and
mad
I'm
that
like,
it was right.
I'm like, dang, he was right. Yeah, exactly. Like,
Isn't that like...
dang it! Like it made me appreciate my dad a little more.
There's been so many times I've blown up on the kids, and then like 5 minutes later, I'm back in their room, almost in tears. I'm so sorry.
I've done that.
You know, part of the thing is too is if they do something wrong, they get a consequence. You've got to realize when you've done something wrong
yeah.
as well, and
Oh, yeah,
know
for sure.
that you're not perfect. It's
Yeah. Well, it's a
No.
learning aspect for
Oh, yeah.
everyone involved. But
exactly.
as far as this goes,
Yeah.
I want to end this podcast because I feel like fatherhood in itself could be a whole
Oh,
other
fantastic
topic.
A
Sounds
series.
good.
We could do a
Fantastic.
series.
Yeah.
So, with that, I'm going to wrap up today's podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for listening. Again, follow us on all the social platforms. Everything's in the show notes, or if you're following us on YouTube, everything's in the description. If you're not, follow us on YouTube. Come check us out.
Take a look, see.
There's some
Yeah.
stuff that you don't hear.
Yeah,
Or
thanks.
You hear.
That you don't see.
Yeah, you
I know what I'm
see
trying to
me.
say.
You know, see.
Thanks so much for being part of this crowd, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Ciao.
Later.
Ciao.
See ya.